If I'm not hearing what I want to hear, I know y'all not hearing what y'all want to hear. So let's get to it. Fair use reaction clip, copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use. Okay. So we're going to get to a few different things and a few different topics. I'll probably go from Instagram just to show y'all what's going on in the media. Might have to do it this way today because there's so much going on and there's so much I want to show y'all, and I don't want to break these videos down in a different way. So like the videos you guys come in. There's a lot of people that's live. I'm about to show y'all a lot of stuff. Diddy was denied bail. We're going to show that he was kneeling down on a chair. His mom is waving to people outside the courtroom. People are putting baby oil on Armand. Some media people are being called out. Cameras was all on them. But I'm gonna get to my disclaimer because it's going to take a few minutes for people to come in. I wasn't planning on going live. Already did earlier today, but I have to bring out what's going on. Okay. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships and research. Fair use is use permitted by a copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged, in our opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. We're going to get through a few different things. And like I mentioned, the judge has denied his request for bail. That's huge. Because I'm sure the family was excited about him possibly getting out. Not going to happen. So we're going to talk about, hold on one second. And like I said, there's a lot going on in the news. So we're going to show you a lot of that and we're going to talk about it. If they don't show that it's been within 29 minutes, I might be a little bit faster than the news. Okay, so 13 minutes ago. Okay, there we go. Like the video as you guys come in. It's going to take people a few minutes to come in because there are so many people live. Like the videos you guys come in.
Sean Combs, that's what I'm hearing from our team. The judge has denied bail. So we have some breaking news right now. The judge has denied bail for Sean Combs. That's what I'm hearing from our team. The judge has denied bail. So he will remain in custody between now and sentencing. More to come on this. But the hearing and news that we were waiting for this afternoon, whether or not Sean Diddy Combs would receive bail, his bail has been denied.
So yes, bail has been denied.
Bernarda, in just getting that news, I'm curious your initial reactions. Did it surprise you?
I am not surprised that this judge denied Sean Combs' release pending sentencing. You have to think that this judge is in a different position than when he first heard the bail application when Sean Combs was first arrested. Because this judge has sat throughout the entire trial and has heard all the evidence that was submitted before this jury and evidence that was not submitted before this jury. So he has such a huge insight as to who Sean Combs is. Also taking into account that he knows what the guidelines are. And those guidelines, even if you take it from the perspective of the defense of 21 to 27 months, or you take it from the prosecution, whether it's over 50-something months, he's going to sentence him at least within those guidelines and not the 10 months that he's already served.
Yes. So let's go in. Hold on one second. Fair use reaction clip. Many people are talking about it. You guys, I'm a little bit faster than the news today. So understand, people are going to talk about what's understanding.
Accusers, one of them being the singer Dawn Richard, who we saw testify.
We're going to talk about some of the people that put in letters for him not to be released. I guess it's working. Cassie put out a letter, don't release him. Other people have put out letters, please don't release him. So let's get to that. Fair use reaction clip. Hold on.
During this trial. Well, welcome, Lisa. I actually want to spend some time talking to you about what civil trials and civil court, what could be next in all of this. But first, I do need to get your reaction to today. I mean, your feeling on this this split verdict is what?
Well, it's very disappointing, and it takes me back to O.J. Simpson. I mean, to see all of this very powerful testimony against Sean Combs, and then he's acquitted of the top charges, there's no question that that is a disappointment. But at least he is a convicted felon now of 2 federal charges, and I hope the judge sentences him to several years at least behind bars.
So what would you say about where he was acquitted? I mean, I get it on the racketeering charge. We talked about it in detail yesterday about how that was difficult to build, okay? You're essentially trying to say this guy's the head of a criminal enterprise. You can weigh in on that, but I'm more curious to what you think about sex trafficking for Cassie and for Jane, and why they weren't able to secure a conviction there.
Right. Well, only the jurors know, of course, but sex trafficking is essentially getting somebody by fraud, force, or coercion. There's no question that he engaged in violence against Cassie. There's the hotel video that we've all seen, that the jury saw over and over again. There are multiple witnesses to the violence that he committed against her. And the other victim, Jane, testified to similar kinds of things, but the jury didn't see it. And it's hard for me to say why. I mean, the defense kind of mocked the prosecution in their closing arguments, saying, oh, this is just about baby oil and Astroglide. And, that's not obviously what the case was about, but that is something that was found in the searches. More importantly, in the searches were found weapons, and the women's testimony I thought was very powerful, but I guess the jury just didn't see it.
What can you tell us about what might happen next now? Burden not as high in civil court. We have a screen here that'll show since May 1st, 78 civil cases filed, as of May 1st, I should say, against Sean Combs. Okay, so we said you represent some accusers of Combs. Where are we going?
Yes, so I represent Don Richard and John Doe, a male who's anonymous, and my male client's claims are very similar to those that Sean Combs was found guilty of now, which is prostitution across state lines. It's very similar to what my client alleges. But bottom line is, each case is independent and separate. Civil cases have a lower burden of proof, just preponderance of the evidence, not beyond a reasonable doubt, like in a criminal case, and they will go forward. We've been fighting motions to dismiss, doing a lot of legal wrangling. We will continue to fight for our clients. If Sean Combs is incarcerated on the felonies that he's now been convicted of, I look forward to taking his deposition behind bars.
So that could still happen. We don't know if he'll get jail time. The next order, or the next question facing all of us today is whether he walks out of that courthouse on bail.
Yes.
Does any of the...
And we just found out that the judge has denied that. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Civil litigation maybe get into the thinking of the judge in terms of flight risk or anything like that? Will that be considered today at all, or would you like to see it be considered?
Yes, flight risk and propensity for violence are still very much at issue on the bail hearing. In fact, we are submitting a letter to the judge today before the bail hearing, which means in the next half hour or so, on behalf of Dawn Richard, because she is very concerned and she wants her voice to be heard to the judge, that she is concerned. She is concerned for her safety. Also, we feel that the law requires Mr. Combs to continue to be held until sentencing, and so that's what we're asking the judge to do.
Could you summarize or articulate kind of what's in that letter, what the argument is, even if it's not word for word, like what you're saying to the judge on her behalf?
Yes, we are saying that Ms. Richard's harrowing experience involving Mr. Combs' violence and death threats means that she believes that he continues to pose a significant danger to the victims who testified in the case, including herself and to the broader community. And the circumstances that prompted the government and the court's repeated denial of Mr. Combs' prior bail applications remain unchanged, right? Nothing has changed. He still is who he is.
So I think Doug Woodor represents Cassie, was saying something similar outside court. So I guess it's we'll let you get back to work on all of that. This is about an hour, I guess they have.
So if you're just now coming in, welcome to the show. We're going to talk about his bail being denied. Fair use reaction clip. Like the video as you guys come in. Like the video as you guys come in. Yes, it was denied. Believe it or not, his family was hopeful, but it was denied. You're just now coming in. Let me play the clip. Hold on one second. Were you guys surprised that it was denied?
I'm hearing from our team, the judge has denied bail. We have some breaking news right now. The judge has denied bail for Sean Combs. That's what I'm hearing from our team. The judge has denied bail, so he will remain in custody between now and sentencing. More to come on this, but the hearing and news that we were waiting for this afternoon, whether or not Sean Diddy Combs would receive bail, his bail has been denied.
Not surprised? Okay.
Bernarda, in just getting that news, I'm curious your initial reactions. Did it surprise you?
I am not surprised that this judge denied Sean Combs' release pending sentencing. You have to think that this judge is in a different position than when he first heard the bail application when Sean Combs was first arrested, because this judge has sat throughout the entire trial and has heard all the evidence that was submitted before this jury and evidence that was not submitted before this jury. So he has such a huge insight as to who Sean Combs is. Also taking into account that he knows what the guidelines are. And those guidelines, even if you take it from the perspective of the defense of 21 to 27 months, or you take it from the prosecution, whether it's over 50-something months, he's going to sentence him at least within those guidelines and not the 10 months that he's already served.
So there's, hold on, fair use reaction clip. Many people are talking about it, that his bail was denied. And check this out. How about this? They're actually talking about what Diddy's lawyers said. And that was part of the judge's decision of denying the bail, because they said, we understand that there's concerns here. Oh, you understand that there's concerns. Why should I give him bail? They kind of used it allegedly against them. Yep, let's continue. Hold on.
Verdict. The disgraced music mogul was acquitted of the most serious charges, and of course now the question is, will he be released on bond today? A hearing set for about half an hour from now, 5 o'clock.
Yeah, this morning a jury of 8 men, 4 women found him guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage.
And we know it was denied. So this was even 8 minutes ago, but I'm sure they'll get it that it was denied. Let's continue. Literally, this was 8 minutes ago, and they told everyone probably about 5:30.
In prostitution. He faces up to 20 years in prison. Combs was found not guilty on 3 other charges, the most serious charges, including the top count of racketeering conspiracy.
Now, defense attorneys are pressing the court to release Combs on bail. They say guarantors will put up $1 million bond to allow Combs to reunite with his families. But prosecutors, not surprisingly, vehemently disagree. And Cassie Ventura, who was, of course, the star witness for the prosecution, along with another witness, they are pleading with the judge to keep Combs behind bars until sentencing. Ventura says he poses a danger to the victims who testified in this case, including herself.
Outside the courthouse today, it has been a circus. Some supporters chanting, "Let Puffy go," while the NYPD installed additional barricades and shut down traffic in that area in preparation for what could come next. Now, joining us now is Kyle Dennis, a staff writer at Billboard. Kyle, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. First, let's just start off. What is your reaction to today's split verdict?
I was pretty shocked. I think, as most people were, I think we were expecting a uniform verdict, if that was even going to be possible. But seeing the split verdict is kind of reminiscent of seeing the split opinions and reactions across the industry today.
Sorry, and have you had much of a chance to speak with others in the industry about this verdict in the Combs case? And what kinds of things are you hearing from them?
So I've been able to speak to some other, reporters, some other writers, but we've been seeing some early reactions from artists in particular. Rapper Boosie Badass said this was a great day in hip-hop history. Lil Scrappy said, "Amen, free Diddy," because he sure didn't commit no RICO. Tiny Harris said that people just want to charge him for being freaky. But then you have, sports journalist Jamil Hill, who was like, "It's going to be truly uncomfortable seeing so many people caper Diddy today. The verdict is what it is, but it is not a victory." Kesha sent out a tweet of support to Cassie, saying that she believes her, and that she loves her, and that her strength is a beacon for every survivor. So we're seeing, across the board, very different reactions from very different artists.
You mentioned Cassie Ventura. I want to get your opinion about her testimony and how you think her coming forward, her bravery coming forward, is going to, what kind of impact do you think it might have on the entertainment industry? I mean, here she is standing up against Sean Combs, who was a powerful, influential entrepreneur.
I think we already see the impact of Cassie coming forward in the guilty verdicts that we got today. Without her initially coming forward and filing that first lawsuit, the prosecution, really helped build their case.
Do you think if the judge would have let them speak yesterday, do you think it would have been a different verdict yesterday than what it was today? Do you think some of the jurors changed their minds from yesterday and today? Many people are not happy with the verdict. They're saying the jurors were probably ready to do their holiday. They're over it. They probably couldn't agree. And what they could agree on, let's go forward. Let's go forward. Many people felt that the racketeering was going to be hard to prove. But many lawyers said we see it. But if the jurors don't see it, that's what matters. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Off of what she was able to give them. So I think going forward, we're going to see.
Are you guys surprised?
Questioning these kind of relationships between young artists and moguls, and making sure that everything is safe and everything is practical and ethical when these partnerships happen, because clearly they could turn into something a lot more sinister, like this one was.
So the Combs family is celebrating today. He could have faced life in prison had he been convicted on some of.
Hold on, let's show. As long as I don't hit the. This is the family, either going back into court. Let's see. This is his daughters. They're all smiles. That he did not get life, but they probably won't be happy that he won't be able to come home. Did the children break their silence? They did break their silence. I got to be careful what I play. This was Diddy inside the courtroom. I'm doing it this way today because there was so much that happened in the media. I'd be making short videos for the next hour if I did it that way. This is allegedly what they saw in the courtroom, him kneeling down. Courtroom sketch shows Diddy reactions after hearing the verdict in regards to the trial. Let's continue, y'all. Of course, the judge denies his bail. Let's continue. More sketches just showing this is what he was doing. He was kneeling down thanking goodness. So this is people. This is this is people outside the courtroom. He's screaming more oil. More. This is outside the courtroom, y'all. I cannot believe it. They are so silly. So silly. Okay, so this is what she's talking about. This is Diddy's son celebrating with his girlfriend, which is rightfully so. And that's where I'm gonna let them go ahead and yes, that was was that Armand? It was. You want me to play it again? Y'all know I got love for Armand, so be careful. I don't play about Armand. I don't play about Armand. He's had his ups, his downs, but his career has soared. He's had his highs, he's had his lows. But you can't tell me that man ain't funny. You can't tell me. You can't tell me he not funny. He is hilarious. Okay, I gotta move on. Okay, this is the son dancing with his girlfriend, rightfully so. That he's happy that, of course, that his dad is not gonna get. Yeah, he's so funny. Yeah, he's so funny. That's the one thing. This has not been an easy trial to cover. We get. Oh, wait.
Government is who you blame if you feel that these victims.
This was big.
Government is who you blame if you feel that these victims didn't get justice because he was guilty of the domestic violence and all those things. But you know what they did? They swung for the fence and they went for a RICO.
Basically, today the jury decided that a RICO is not a RICO. How do you feel about the verdict today? I'm very happy. I feel like justice was served. I've been to a few of his parties, and there's been nothing but generosity and positivity, and I've never seen anything negative ever. I'm an independent journalist that had predicted this was going to be what happened. I said the RICO is weak.
Hopefully he do get some therapy. Hopefully he does get some help. Seek some help. Stay away from the D-rugs and the addiction. But my question is for the people that were complicit, that you think he was guilty. What about everybody that got supposed immunities and proffer agreements?
Okay, let's go back.
I'm a journalist that had predicted this was going to be what happened. I said the RICO is weak.
Hopefully he do get some therapy. Hopefully he does get some help. Seek some help. Stay away from the D-rugs and the addiction. But my question is for the people that were complicit, that you think he was guilty. What about everybody that got supposed immunities and proffer agreements and all of that? Government is who you blame if you feel that these victims didn't get justice because he was guilty of the domestic violence and all those things. But you know what they did? They swung for the fence and they went for a RICO.
Basically, today the jury.
Okay. So that's his son. I can't play that. So that's his son having a good old time with his girlfriend. That's when the verdict was read. And then, of course, his family left. His family left out. And then they, of course, came back because they had said 1:30, but then they changed their mind. And then they said 5. So let's listen to what the news had to say about the son celebrating.
And you mentioned that.
Hold on.
These partnerships happen.
Like the video, you guys. Subscribe to the page. I am live for the second or third time today. Yeah, I was relaxing. And then I said, I'm not liking what I see. So I know my people need more. So that's why I'm live for y'all right now.
Because clearly they could turn something a lot more sinister like this one was.
So the Combs family celebrating today. He could have faced life in prison had he been convicted on some of the more serious charges. And you mentioned that there are people who are saying not a day to celebrate. What is there a future for him in music at this point? I mean, he likely may serve some time after with the 2 charges. But what is the future? How do you see this impacting, what he's managed to build outside of course,
Can he rehab his career?
I think in the same way that we didn't see many of his biggest peers and most famous friends stand up for him during the trial.
Good afternoon.
Rush to bring them back into their circles. I anticipate that he probably goes the streamer podcast route to begin rehabilitating his image there. I think the trial and the footage that we did see of him beating Cassie probably tarnished him too much for an unassuming return to the Diddy that the world knew before 2024. In terms of how he will move musically, I wouldn't rule out some kind of First Day Out song. That feels like a very Diddy stunt to pull. But I also imagine that he puts his kids at the forefront of whatever he's doing musically, and he puts all of his might into recruiting the biggest guest stars possible to cover up his own stand. So I think he'll be able to rehabilitate himself in some kind of way, but the shadow of this will always follow him.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, he's certainly a master at cultivating an image, which he has done very effectively in his career. All right, Kyle Dennis of Billboard Magazine, we really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us.
So let's go back, because some people are just now coming in.
And of course, now the question is, will he be released on bond today?
And the judge denied it.
An hour from now, 5 o'clock. Yeah, this morning, a jury of 8 men, 4 women found him guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. He faces up to 20 years in prison. Combs was found not guilty on 3 other charges, the most serious charges, including the top count of racketeering conspiracy. Now, defense attorneys are pressing the court to release Combs on bail. They say guarantors will put up $1 million bond to allow Combs to reunite with his families. But prosecutors, not surprisingly, vehemently disagree. And Cassie Ventura, who was, of course, the star witness for the prosecution, along with another witness, they are pleading with the judge to keep Combs behind bars until sentencing. Ventura says he poses a danger to the victims who testified in this case, including herself. Outside the courthouse today, it has been a circus. Some supporters chanting, "Let Puffy go," while the NYPD installed additional barricades.
Definite circus. So let me find that. People outside. Let me see. Diddy's legal team won't call. Oh, they had said that if he do get out, he won't be calling any people to come to his house. The judge was like, we shouldn't even be worried about that. Okay, this is his mom exiting the courthouse. So we're going to focus on that. This is his mom, the family walking out. She's happy, holding hands. The son is basically saying stuff. Certain stuff I got to be careful because I don't know who owns it. But go look on Neighborhood Talk and then you'll find it. But yeah, I got to be careful because sometimes they're playing certain stuff, music. I had to do the video this way, you guys, because there's so much news and it's so fast. I would be doing shorts for 2 hours. So this is the son celebrating with his girlfriend. If you guys did not know, the sons did bring girlfriends. Christian brought a girlfriend, and Justin, I think. And then, of course, the daughters were there. They're, of course, happy and understanding. They're, of course, happy because he's not going to get life. So that's the mom. That's one of the daughters. And the son is talking to the media. Probably grateful. But yeah, I got to be careful what I play because I don't know if it's copywritten. So yeah, that's the son celebrating. So let's go here.
And shut down traffic in that area in preparation for what could come next. Now, joining us now is Kyle Dennis, a staff writer at Billboard. Kyle, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. First, let's just start off. What is your reaction to today's split verdict?
I was pretty shocked. I think, as most people were, I think we were expecting a uniform verdict if that was even going to be possible. But seeing the split verdict is kind of reminiscent of seeing the split opinions and reactions across the industry today.
Sorry, and have you had much of a chance to speak with others in the industry about this verdict in the Combs case? And what kinds of things are you hearing from them?
So I've been able to speak to some other, reporters, some other writers, but we've been seeing some early reactions from artists in particular. Rapper Boosie Badass said this was a great day in hip-hop history. Lil Scrappy said, "Amen, free Diddy," because he sure didn't commit no RICO. Tiny Harris said that people just want to charge him for being freaky. But then you have, sports journalist Jamil Hill, who was like, "It's going to be truly uncomfortable seeing so many people cape for Diddy today. The verdict is what it is, but it is not a victory." Kesha sent out a tweet of support to Cassie, saying that she believes her, and that she loves her, and that her strength is a beacon for every survivor. So we're seeing, across the board, very different reactions from very different artists.
You mentioned Cassie Ventura. I want to get your opinion about her testimony and how you think her coming forward, her bravery coming forward, is going to, what kind of impact do you think it might have on the entertainment industry? I mean,
do you think Cassie was brave? Yes or no? And are you surprised the judge denied bail?
Here she is standing up against Sean Combs, who was a powerful, influential entrepreneur.
I think we already see the impact of Cassie coming forward in the guilty verdicts that we got today. Without her initially coming forward and filing that first lawsuit, the prosecution, really helped build their case off of what she was able to give them. So I think going forward, we're going to see a lot more people questioning these kind of relationships between young artists and moguls and making sure that everything is safe and everything is practical and ethical when these partnerships happen, because clearly they could turn to something a lot more sinister like this one was.
So the Combs family is celebrating today. He could have faced life in prison had he been convicted on some of the more serious charges. And you mentioned that there are people who say not a day to celebrate. What is there a future for him in music at this point? I mean, he likely may serve some time after with the 2 charges. But what is the future? How do you see this impacting, what he's managed to build outside of course,
can he rehab? Can he rehab his career?
I think in the same way that we didn't see many of his biggest peers and most famous friends stand up for him during the trial, people probably won't rush to bring them back into their circles. I anticipate that he probably goes the streamer, podcaster route to begin rehabilitating his image there. I think the trial and the footage that we did see of him beating Cassie probably tarnished him too much for an unassuming return to the Diddy that the world knew before 2024. In terms of how he will move musically, I wouldn't rule out some kind of First Day Out song that feels like a very Diddy stunt to pull. But I also imagine that he puts his kids at the forefront of whatever he's doing musically, and he puts all of his might into recruiting the biggest guest stars possible to cover up his own stench. So I think he'll be able to rehabilitate himself in some kind of way, but the shadow of this will always follow him.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, he's certainly a master at cultivating an image, which he has done very effectively in his career.
Okay, so let's continue, y'all. Let me continue. Fair use reaction clip. His bail was denied. His bail was denied. If you're just now coming in, his bail was denied. Let me see. Hold on one second. Like the video as you guys come in. Like it, like it, like it. And please subscribe. Please subscribe. Getting thoughts and reaction to how people are feeling about the actual verdict. But his bail was denied by the judge today. His family went back and it was denied.
Scheduled for the fall. Sean Diddy Combs has already been there, and we know that sentencing hearing scheduled for the fall. Sean Diddy Combs has already been in custody for about 9 months now, and he's also facing dozens of civil lawsuits. What more does he have ahead of him before that hearing? We know, I think it's on October 3rd. October 3rd at 10 a.m. is when Sean Combs is going to be sentenced for his...
October 3rd is the sentencing. October 3rd is the sentencing.
We know, I think it's on October 3rd. October 3rd at 10 a.m. is when Sean Combs is going to be sentenced for his conviction on 2 counts of transportation for the purposes of prostitution. Each of those counts carries a maximum penalty of up to 10 years. And so prosecutors pointed out in their letter to the judge his total exposure is 20 years in prison. And the judge today said that Combs' propensity for violence was starkly depicted on that 2016 hotel security camera footage that may well factor into the judge's sentencing decisions. In the meantime, Sean Combs will continue to be incarcerated at MDC in Brooklyn, the federal jail in Brooklyn, where he's been since his arrest. This is at least the 3rd, possibly even the 4th time that bail has been denied, and he will have to fight those civil lawsuits, at least at the outset, from behind bars.
Bail denied. Bail denied. How many times did he say?
We know that sentencing hearing decisions. In the meantime, Sean Combs will continue to be incarcerated at MDC in Brooklyn, the federal jail in Brooklyn, where he's been since his arrest. This is at least the 3rd, possibly even the 4th time that bail has been denied, and he will have to fight those civil lawsuits, at least at the outset, from behind bars.
4th or 5th denial of bail. He will have to fight those civil lawsuits behind bars. That's how he feels. Hold on. Fair use reaction clip. I'm just bringing y'all the news. Like I said, I was relaxing. But I said, if I'm not getting what I need, I know y'all need me to come live to tell y'all what's going on. Baby, it was a lot going on outside that courtroom today. When I tell you, okay, the verdict was read. People were kind of shocked, saying, what were the jury thinking? And then different YouTubers were kind of going at it. And then there was a YouTuber that went off on another YouTuber, and they start calling them out, saying, you working with the feds, you got those 2 security guards blocking you, nobody ain't gonna do nothing to you, are you working for them? So many people were recording it. And then all these people start swarming. Yes, I'm bringing out some TTT. All these people start swarming around her recording. And I wanted to post it, but I don't do YouTube beefs. I don't do YouTube beefs. I've even had a concern with that person, and I'm not problematic. So you'll see later on tonight, there's a YouTuber that's called out because allegedly some people would say what we were hearing in court, she was not reporting. And there's a big media publication that used to be cool with them, and then they started calling them out, saying I was sitting right next to you, and what you was reporting wasn't what was being told to us in court. I sat right next to you. So there are many people calling out a certain YouTuber right now, many, because they say what was told in court, she falsified, or she clickbait, or she wasn't telling the alleged truth. Y'all, baby, people are going in on that person. And people have been actually going in on that person for a good month. And then other people have called it out saying, look, she gave out a certain person that took the stand name. They ain't do nothing about it. Then today, like I said, there was a young girl just walking, and the girl was polite, saying hi. She almost brushed against her, and she was like, look at here. You're not going to be almost bumping into me. I'm going to be kind. I'm going to keep it moving. And then she had an issue with another person calling her out. Calling them out. Y'all catch the tea later. But many people have been calling out different YouTubers for telling false information. Yep. You'll see it tonight. I don't do YouTube beefs, so I'm just giving y'all the heads up. Okay, let's get to the clip. Hold on one second. Yep.
Arguments, and essentially he's in the home stretch. And we are
Hold
back
on.
with great.
Hold on.
I think that this judge looked at the letters that were submitted. He looked at the government's arguments.
Okay, so right now they're talking about why the bail was denied.
And essentially, he's in the home stretch, right? He's already served what would be technically a portion of his sentence. And the judge probably wants no mishaps, and he does not want it to happen during his tenure.
And some more context to that. Judge Subramanian said, quote, the jury convicted the defendant of counts 3 and 5, and for the following reasons, bail is denied. And we sort of have lost that sight a little bit as we're talking about this case in full today, because while Sean Combs was acquitted of the most serious charges, he still was convicted of 2.
Absolutely.
So what happens now? What's the process moving forward?
So now he will remain incarcerated as he has been. We will have this sentencing hearing that will come forth, like I said, in approximately 30 to 60 days. They're going to get recommendations from the Department of Sentencing and Corrections. They will also get arguments from both the prosecution, which is going to include all aggravating factors. They're also going to get all mitigating factors from the defense. He will hear arguments, and then he will set the sentence.
And the judge, and just to follow this up, the judge agrees with federal prosecutors and their argument that detention is, quote, mandatory for the Mann Act conviction. Now, help us understand, because counts 3 and 5, we're dealing with the Mann Act.
So who gonna tell us
with prostitution?
Correct. Right.
Who gonna tell the son he not coming home right now? Who gonna tell the son he not coming home right now? Bail was denied. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
30 to 60 days. They're going to get recommendations from the Department of Sentencing and Corrections. They will also get arguments from both the prosecution, which is going to include all aggravating factors. They're also going to get all mitigating.
They did not prove their case. I have told y'all that. For me, it didn't matter one way or another. We followed what the news was saying. So there was no clickbait. We couldn't lie over here. You know what I'm saying? So that's a big one. Do y'all feel that the jury did right, did wrong, agree, disagree? Let's continue. Fair use. Bail was denied. You just not coming in. Bail was denied.
Factors from the defense. He will hear arguments, and then he will set the sentence.
And the judge, and just to follow this up, the judge agrees with federal prosecutors and their argument that detention is, quote, mandatory for the Mann Act conviction. Now, help us understand, because counts 3 and 5 were...
I think 2 of them make it 10. No, I think they said one count could be 10 and another count could be 20. Because if you did not know, 50 Cent is trolling. And he was basically like, allegedly, 50 Cent's trolling. And he's basically like, he could still get 20 years, y'all, allegedly. But I can't confirm or deny what's going to happen in regards to the hearing. But let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
moving forward?
So now he will remain incarcerated as he has been. We will have this sentencing hearing that will come forth, like I said, in approximately 30 to 60 days. They're going to get recommendations from the Department of Sentencing and Corrections. They will also get arguments from both the prosecution,
no bail,
which is going to include all aggravating factors. They're also going to get all mitigating factors from the defense. He will hear arguments, and then he will set the sentence.
And the judge, and just to follow this up, the judge agrees with federal prosecutors and their argument that detention is, quote, mandatory for the Mann Act conviction. Now, help us understand, because counts 3 and 5, we're dealing with the Mann Act, which deals with prostitution.
Correct.
Right. What is the Mann Act, and what does that mean in sort of layperson's terms?
So it's essentially taking someone from place to place. It was named after the Sentinel case. It was basically taking...
And it was created in the 1900s,
Correct.
1910, I believe.
Correct. Yeah. And it was really to ensure that, and this is what the argument was of the defense, right? It was traditionally so that way we did not have people being moved for prostitution. And it was somewhat racially based, some would argue. So that is why that argument came up in the beginning when they said that he was even being charged with this. There was that argument that there are Caucasian men that do this all the time because he is an African-American man, that he is being prosecuted under this act that is hardly ever used. However, the judge found that it is persuasive because what they want to make sure is that this person doesn't continue to do this while out. Right. He still has to be sentenced. And so it's not as though he got acquitted of everything today and can just go home. And so the judge found that persuasive.
Certainly an argument that Cassie Ventura's attorney echoed as well. Shauna Lloyd, stand by. We want to go to Kimberly Richardson now because she's just outside the courthouse with this reaction. You have these people there waiting. They thought there was a chance that they could see Sean Combs.
Like the video, like the video. Many people were standing outside the courtroom waiting to see if he was going to get bail. Many people were waiting outside the courtroom waiting to see if he was going to get bail. Bail was denied. I have to keep telling people that because at first I was waiting to hear whether it was approved or denied. Let's continue.
Tonight, we know that's not going to happen.
That is not going to happen, Mike, and you're right. People started gathering here earlier today when the verdict was announced. In fact, the NYPD for a time this afternoon shut down Worth here in front of the federal courthouse to traffic because the crowd was growing. NYPD officers are out here right now. But yes, they were waiting, hoping to see Sean Combs walk out of the front door, hear his family also. But in those letters to the judges, both sides, the attorneys, the defense wrote in part, they said he needs and wants to be with and remain with his family. The government, in its letter to the judge, insisted keeping Combs behind bars, saying it sends a dangerous message that wealth and influence can shield someone indefinitely from accountability. Another person we have heard from today through her attorney, Cassie Ventura, she waited. It's a dangerous message that wealth and influence can shield someone indefinitely from accountability. Another person we have heard from today through her attorney, Cassie Ventura, she weighed in after the verdict and she said she believes that Combs is likely to pose a danger to the victims who testified in this case, including herself and the community. So the judge listening in the end to the prosecutor, keeping Sean Combs behind bail. Remember when behind bars, remember when the verdict was read, Combs dropped to his knees. At one point the judge said, we may or may not send you back to MDC. He was shaking his head. No, I do not want to go back there. It looks like right now, at this point, he is heading back to that federal prison. The next step, sentencing, we will...
That's where he going back to, y'all. That's where he going back to.
Learn a date when that will happen. I don't think that has come down yet, but that's the next step in that. So between now and then, Sean Combs will go right back where he was this morning. He will not be going to his mansion in Miami.
That was his request, to be released, to go back to Miami. Do you think of the request of going back to Miami? Because that's on the water. I'm wondering if he would have requested to go back to LA, if that would have helped. I'm wondering if he would have said, I'll go back to LA, if that would have helped. When he said Miami, that's on the water. Let's see. Fair use reaction clip. Hold on. Like the video as you guys come in. I appreciate y'all being here. I appreciate it. I hope you appreciate it. I had to bring y'all to TTT like I always do.
Third day of deliberations. The jury finding Combs not guilty on 3 of 5 counts, acquitting him of the most serious charges of racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking. Combs guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Each count carries a maximum of up to 10 years behind bars. The verdict considered a huge win for Combs, who is facing the possibility of life in prison. He's been behind bars since his arrest in September. Let's get right to ABC's chief investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky. And Aaron, we know that the defense was hoping that Combs would be able to leave the courtroom and go back to his family today. And earlier he even said to his family there that I'm coming home. But it turns out that that is not the case. What are you learning from what happened in this hearing late today? Sean Combs entered court just a moment ago looking upbeat. He greeted his family who crammed into the gallery, all in one bench, his mother, sons, twin daughters. And I think he was anticipating that he would be released following the mixed verdict, especially the acquittal on all of the violent crimes. But the judge immediately sat down at the bench, started reading his decision, saying bail is denied. He would not be released prior to sentencing because the judge said his incarceration is required based on what he was convicted of, transportation for the purposes of prostitution. The judge said the defense did not make any successful arguments to say that that expectation should be overridden. All right, Erica Tursky, thank you. Stand by for us a moment. You're taking a look at some of these live images from our WABC New York chopper camera here. You can see the crowd gathering outside the courthouse. A lot of people were hoping, people who were waiting there outside the courtroom, to be able to get a glimpse of Sean Diddy Combs as he was released. But again, that news coming down that he will not be released on bail for now. Let's bring in ABC News legal contributor Bernarda Villalona. And Bernarda, we know that this case was not technically about domestic violence. At least those were not the charges against Combs. But of course, there was that now infamous video from the hotel surveillance that showed him physically assaulting Cassie.
Oh, y'all, we are at 24 likes. You guys, let's get the likes up to 100. I'm just now seeing that. Let's get the likes to 100. Please double tap that screen so we can continue. Get the likes to 100. If you're watching from a phone, press 1. Please double tap the screen to get the likes to 100. Thank you for liking. Thank you for liking. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here, everyone. Let's get the likes up. Please don't forget to subscribe as well. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Is it possible that any of that evidence came down to what the judge was considering in terms of his release back to the public on bail?
100%, absolutely. You have to think that this judge is in a unique position that he heard all of the testimony, all of the evidence that was provided through this 7-week trial. He also knows of evidence that wasn't submitted before this jury. So he took into account what he actually heard. He took into account that it's no longer that Sean Combs is accused of transportation to engage in prostitution, but now that he has been convicted by a jury of his peers. He took into account that his ability to flee and not return.
And my views get millions of views. People be tuned in. We go fast over here. So you go over there if you got a page. Go right over there. Do you? We doing us over here. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
For sentencing, as well as that he's a danger to the community and also to victims. Remember that Cassie Ventura's attorney, Doug Wigdor, submitted a letter to this court requesting that Sean Combs remains in custody because he is a danger to society. So taking all of that into account, in addition to what his potential sentence would be, does give us a cue into what he will actually sentence him to. While it's a mandatory of 10 years on each of these counts, there is a sentencing crime guidelines, and the prosecution is claiming that it's about 51 months to 63 months, while the defense is saying 21 months to 27 months, and Sean Combs has only been in custody for 10 months.
Bernarda, thank you. We are just getting this information from the U.S. District Judge here, citing Combs' domestic violence as part of that justification for his continued detention. He called it a propensity for violence. This is also a quote here of the judge saying it is impossible for the defendant to demonstrate that he poses no danger to the community. Again, that as part of this decision not to grant him bail, to deny bail to Sean Diddy Combs. I want to go to our ABC News legal contributor, Brian Buckmeyer. Brian, you've been watching this case very closely. You've been inside the courtroom at times. So now that bail has been denied, Brian, what are the next steps?
So the next steps will be sentencing. And between today and whatever the sentencing date is, and we're waiting to hear what that is, Sean Combs will be visited by someone from the probation department. And they'll interview him, speak with Sean Combs, family members, anyone else that they may be directed to, and they'll create what's called a PSI, or pre-sentencing investigation. So that information will be given to both the attorneys as well as the judge, and will help guide them in terms of a sentencing. Now, Bernarda had pointed out the sentencing guidelines that both parties have.
And that's fair to say. Do you guys feel that he should have gotten bail? I'm pretty fair over here in regards to y'all thoughts and feelings. Everybody has pretty much a right to speak, as long as you're not rude to me and people in the chat. You good? Do you feel that he should have got bail? Yes or no? From the beginning, do you feel that he should have got bail? Yes or no? Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. He's explaining now what's next for Diddy.
put forward. The defense saying that the sentence should be anywhere from 21 to 27 months. The government saying anywhere from 51
no
to
bail.
63 months. But the PSI will provide what they believe the sentencing guidelines will be, and then either side will try to argue, come sentencing, that there are either aggravating circumstances, the government will oppose those to go higher, or mitigating circumstances to go lower, and that's when we'll find a sentence. And of course, the potential of what's called victim impact statements, people who will testify or give testimony about the sentencing of Sean Combs.
Brian Buckmeyer, thank you. I want to go back to Aaron Katursky. Aaron, we know that sentencing hearing scheduled for the fall. Sean Diddy Combs has already been in custody for about 9 months now, and he's also facing dozens of civil lawsuits. What more does he have ahead of him before that hearing? We know, I think it's on October 3rd.
October 3rd at 10 a.m. is when Sean Combs is going to be sentenced for his conviction on 2 counts of transportation for the purposes of prostitution. Each of those counts carries a maximum penalty of up to 10 years. And so prosecutors pointed out in their letter to the judge his total exposure is 20 years in prison. And the judge today said that Combs's propensity for violence was starkly depicted on that 2016 hotel security camera footage. That may well factor into the judge's sentencing decisions. In the meantime, Sean Combs will continue to be incarcerated at MDC in Brooklyn, the federal jail in Brooklyn, where he's been since his arrest. This is at least the 3rd, possibly even the 4th time that bail has been denied, and he will have to fight those civil lawsuits, at least at the outset, from behind bars.
3rd or 4th time. I've learned in different situations, judges don't like to change their mind. If one judge made a decision, a lot of judges don't like to change their mind. So if one judge denied him bail 9 months ago, 7 months ago, now he's seeking bail again. A lot of times judges don't like to change their mind, because it's like they're going to be like, well, what made you want to release him? The other judges said no. Are you getting paid? Is this a setup? Are you getting money under the table? They would ask different questions. So maybe the judge said, if they denied it, I have to deny it. I saw the video, and then I'm hearing allegedly how the employees and the assistants felt. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. Continue to hit the like button, you guys. I hope you're subscribing. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
With Aaron Katursky, thank you, and the entire team. Again, the judge.
And let me know in the comments, do you feel that he should have gotten bail? It's okay for you guys to have your feelings about. And are you happy that the verdict came out the way it did?
Sean Combs bail following that split verdict earlier today when the jury acquitted him of the most serious charges of racketeering and conspiracy and sex trafficking, but the jury did find him guilty on those 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. We're going to return to you in just a moment here.
Are y'all surprised he at least got the 2 counts? I mean, we see that the family was celebrating, but if he has a possibility of 10 years on each count, are y'all surprised the family? Did the family understand that? Because I'm hearing, check this out, real tea. Okay, fair use reaction clip. I'm hearing when the verdict was read, he was happy, holding one of the attorney's hands or something like that. And then when the other side was talking about the other 2 counts, I don't think the family knew how much those counts hold. And it's kind of like they were celebrating, and then they were like, well, wait a minute, those other 2 counts could hold 10 years each? I think the family was stunned. I don't think they realized which each count holds, and then they were celebrating not life, but they didn't realize what those other 2 counts held until they started reading what those other 2 counts held. Does that make sense? Yeah. So a lot was going on inside the court. A lot was going on outside the court. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. Hello. Good afternoon.
Aspect of it would eat up a lot of time. You're already getting
Let me go back.
Breaking news from Lower Manhattan. Sean Combs has been denied bond while awaiting sentencing in his sex crimes case that's just in from the courthouse there, 500 Pearl Street. Back with Geraldo. We'll get to Ashley Banfield in a moment. But we were just talking about this, and then even Ted Simon was speculating what it would mean if he did walk out. Not going to today.
Not going to walk out.
Well, I guess the administrative aspect of it would eat up a lot of time. You're already getting, deep into the 5 o'clock hour. No bail tonight doesn't mean no bail, Connell. It means that the judge needs to ponder this, maybe call additional witnesses. Who knows? But no bail tonight does not mean that there will be no bail. It's my read on. I haven't heard exactly what the judge said, but his denial of bail didn't. Again, I'm not playing with the full deck here, but it didn't have the gravity of.
Did he say he's not playing with a full deck? I got to move forward. I can't fool with him.
Get out tonight on bail. Is it an indication that maybe this judge is thinking about a stiffer sentence? I don't know. Ted, is Ted still with us? Let's go back to Ted and on that. That's what we were just talking about, Ted, right? Is that, what the, kind of message might be sent, but no bond. So what do you take away from it?
Well, first, I'm happy to see my old friend Geraldo. I haven't seen in a long time. And
everybody's always happy to see Geraldo. Yeah.
Right. I won't tell the old stories. But Geraldo is right that merely because there's a denial right now, don't forget, the defense only had a few hours to put together their paperwork. And I have their paperwork, and I have the paperwork presented by the government. And I think there are additional substantial arguments that I expect they will flush out and add as a supplement if they did not already do it in oral argument. And I think there's a good basis on which he could be released. And I agree with Geraldo that I expect more to come on this.
But nothing on that idea that just...
So do you think his attorneys will put in another request? Let's continue. Fair use, ration clip.
What we talked about earlier, Ted, about whether no bond means possibility or more probability. Ashley's with us as well. Hey, Ashley, get to you in a second. Ted, whether it means, the probability or possibility of a stiffer sentence goes up.
Yeah. Well, again, what's independent and what's dependent. You could argue one way that the judge is thinking that the guidelines are higher than the lesser amount proposed, and therefore it's a greater risk. On the other hand, he maybe is calling the balls and strikes that he thinks this offense did not generate bail. Too often we connect too many different things that remain independent, which is exactly what happened in the trial. Where there were those pundits that were saying because there was a verdict on 4 counts, it meant that that they were hung on they automatically would be hung on the greater count. But all of them were independent. And so there was no real true basis to assume there was all convictions or all acquittals or one or the other. And I think that's the same here. But if you're going to lay a money bet, you probably think the judge is thinking that the guidelines would start at a 14 or 15 to 21 months. And even though that can be mitigated, they also can be enhanced. So I think that's probably the driving force, although I expect absolutely they will be coming back with a more formal, comprehensive motion why they met the higher parameters of being released.
Let's get Ashley Banfield in on this. Busy day for you. Terrific work earlier on the Koberger coverage, which I was watching, and now this reaction to no bond for Diddy.
Long day, yes, but I will say this. If the past is any indicator, I think you can guarantee that Diddy's team is going to come back, because they did that, 3 times before? They tried 3 different times to put together 3 different bail packages in the outset 10 months ago. So sure, I think they'll come back and make the effort. But I also think, for what it's worth, which isn't much, that this is a telegraph. I think this is Judge Subramanian telegraphing that perhaps he will come down even stronger than the prosecution's request and the guidelines. And I've seen this happen so many times. I'm always shocked when I see a defense put forth a proposal and the prosecutor put forth a proposal and a judge who comes in and goes up and above all of them. So this is my big guessing game in the parlor game that we're playing, is that Judge Subramanian listened to all of that testimony that I went through for the last 7 weeks, vomiting in my mouth every single day, because there was a lot of horrible facts that were not contested by this defendant. And there are 3 victims who have put forth fulsome letters begging this judge not to let Diddy out. I think that matters here. I think this...
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation.
So they don't want to let him out. Do you agree, disagree? Should they have given him bail? Yes or no? Should they have given him bail? Yes or no? Were you surprised with the verdict? Now, this is a more TTT. It's being reported that the jurors were taken in a Sprinter van to be removed from the courts. So the jurors did not leave out on their own. They were removed by a Sprinter van to get out of the courtroom. There was a lot of people outside the courtroom. Many were trying to speak with the jurors. And that might be the reason why they cut the, brought and pushed people further across the street. But the jurors did leave after the verdict, maybe 30 minutes or an hour or 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it was, 2 hours or an hour after. And they did get the jurors out of there. Okay, let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. Like the video as you guys come in.
He said that this is fairly standard in terms of a conviction on these prostitution transportation charges, which are the 2 counts that Diddy was found guilty of. Now, what the big argument and the big push to keep him behind bars obviously came from the prosecutors. I'm sure it seemed that they were very upset.
Be kind. You must care because you're here. You typed it. You're here. Go sit down and watch some Netflix and chill. I'm exhausted. I don't have time for this. I'm bringing y'all the tea like I normally do. We don't do clickbait. We don't lie over here. We bring y'all the tea. Go over there and watch Netflix and drink some coffee and chill. Be kind in the comments. I'm tired and I'm making sure y'all get this tea. Real tea. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
About the verdict from the jury
Enjoy
not getting that
Netflix.
RICO case that they had pushed so hard for against the better advice of some in the legal community who didn't think that was appropriate in this particular circumstance. They also lost out on the sex trafficking. That was not guilty. And they said at the this morning, the prosecution said that, Your Honor, we need several hours to come back and consider bail. Otherwise, they would have just considered the bail, the bail application and the bail situation right there shortly after the verdict was read. That was not the case. They were granted all these extra hours, the extra afternoon. Sean Diddy Combs sitting in a holding cell all the while this afternoon while they're crafting these letters to the judge to explain their positions. And the defense was arguing his mother, who we've seen many times here on Fox 5 going in and out.
Yes, no bail. His family was celebrating like he was about to get bail. No bail. Let's continue. I'm showing this picture because it do show his mom leaving court. It showed a son trying to celebrate. But they're also celebrating that he didn't get life, too. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. No bail currently. But will his attorneys continue to request it?
Court every single day to support her son. She's 85 years old. The argument of the defense was that he's her primary caregiver, and certainly he is the closest relative to her, and that he also has a 3-year-old baby daughter, baby love Sean Combs, and that's her name. And so that was their argument. But the prosecution he still remains a danger. They wanted him behind bars until the sentencing, and this was I'm sure was devastating to Combs and many of the family who seemed elated. They were elated, in fact, when they heard those not guilty verdicts. But it's one more step, and as we've seen with Combs in other situations, once he's determined, he's going to see it through. The worst is over in one sense, and that he is no longer looking at life behind bars. On the other hand, his attorneys will have to file an appeal to this denial of bail. And remember, they had several bail applications throughout the course of the pre-trial conferences, and after his
you said he started celebrating too soon. Yes, you just not coming in, no bail. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. Are you surprised?
Arrests that were completely denied, and those were just eye-popping bail packages. $50 million, 24-hour armed guards, an Upper East Side apartment where there was limited access, no internet access for him, monitoring cameras, monitoring his activities, no guests allowed coming in, and that was denied. So we'll see what happens now. But this has to be a devastating blow for the family. The family's been very united and come together at this. We saw the two sprinters that have taken most of the family after 1 o'clock this afternoon, or a little bit earlier, a little bit after that, after we found out that the hearing would be at 5 o'clock, they all went out together to have lunch or to have something to eat, if in fact they could do that. I'm sure many of them thinking, okay, you know what, Dad's coming home, my son's coming home, that type of thing, and he will not have to spend another night in the MDC, the Metropolitan Detention Center, which is a place nobody wants to go. And so that's what it is. It's just a devastating blow for them. They went from this high this morning of realizing that there's just those 2 counts of the prostitution transportation that they're facing, and that that can be dealt with over time. That's a far cry, Bianca, Natasha, from looking at the possibility of life behind bars, which would have been with the RICO case and many decades on the sex trafficking case, because that also carries a very, very heavy penalty. But that's it for today so far. And then tomorrow the courtroom will be tomorrow the whole courthouse is on administrative leave, is on administrative closure, meaning that they will be. We're getting We're getting interference from all the helicopters up above. So tomorrow the courthouse that you see right behind me, where the trial's taking place and where this bail hearing just happened, that will be closed for an administrative closure. There will be no activity there, no scheduled activity there. Friday, the courthouse is federal holiday closed. It's always closed on Saturdays and Sundays. So there was obviously a pressure to get this decision in before the holiday weekend, and I'm sure there's a lot of disappointment all the way around that they just couldn't bring him home tonight. Natasha and Bianca?
Yeah, Lisa, you mentioned that the $50 million bail package, which is pretty extreme. Why was that not enough to convince the court to let him go on bond here, especially with all those other extra things you're talking about?
Could you repeat that again? I'm sorry. Could you repeat that again?
The $50 million bond and bail package that you mentioned, including the other restrictions, those list of restrictions that you mentioned, you would think that would be enough for a judge to say, all right, I can agree to this, but it wasn't. So there was a reason behind that, and why was that?
Yes. Well, the reason behind that, and that's a great question. What the reason behind that particular denial was the fact that the feds, when you're in prison or you're in jail, they're monitoring all your calls, and they tell you straight up, we're monitoring all your calls. The prosecutor, the lead prosecutor, Maureen Comey, told the judge.
Question, y'all. Do you think the jury feel guilty now that they're watching media and that the judge denied bail? Do you think the jury's feeling like, did we get it wrong? They're now able to watch media, watch the news. They're able to go back to their normal lives. They can now tell family they were a part of the jury. Will the jury write a book, talk about it, do an interview together, separately? Do you think the jurors feel guilty because now they're saying, well, if the judge denied bail, did we get it wrong? Did we get it right? Did we mix up things? Did we miss something? He looking a certain way. We looking like, okay. But they found him guilty on certain things. 2 out of 3. Let's continue. Fair use ration clip.
Told the judge that he had been using other people's phone privileges, because when you're a detainee, you only have a certain number of phone calls at a certain time, using other people's phone privileges to make calls to intimidate witnesses, and that this would not be allowed. And then, as we've heard throughout the day here today with some of our legal experts, that witness intimidation is a crime or an allegation they take extremely seriously here. But the question is that even a factor now, because he was not...
You feel like they got paid? Do you think the jurors got it right? Should it have been switched? 3 guilty, 2 not guilty. Do you think they got it right? You guys, super chats are welcome. Super chats are welcome. Help me get a coffee or a meal. I've been live 3 times today. It'd be nice if someone sends a super chat. $2, $3. Interact with me. Thanks for tuning in. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. You don't ask, people might not do.
Convicted of the sex trafficking or the RICO. So I'm sure it was very disappointing for the defense. For the prosecution, it was like, well, at least we got something, and they got the transportation for prostitution. But I think it's going to come down for the federal prosecutors. That's what pretty much every legal commentator and legal expert is telling us today. That's the latest here from federal court.
Okay, so no bail. No bail, no bail, no bail. Sometimes people will come in and then they'll say, well, that's not what I saw on the screen. Let me go back and see if there was something else I wanted to show. If you did not know, Cassie's attorney spoke out. Let's see. Diddy's on his knees regarding the verdict. He was so happy that he did not get life. I'm just showing y'all what's going on in media. Just showing y'all what's going on in media. Yep. That's the son once again. He's saying he coming home. Broke out into a dance. And then they're saying, Diddy private jet located. Yeah, they're trying to say that the jet was located in a different location. So that's not going to be a risk of him traveling out. Yep. Should remain in custody. So he's going to remain in custody, y'all. Okay. Went live 3 times. Super chats are welcome. They'll still come in. The super chat button is below. How do y'all feel the jury did? Good, not so good. Question. Do you think that you could have handled being a juror for these 6 to 7 weeks? Question. Do you think the jurors were tired of it and they just wanted to enjoy their holiday and get back to their normal life? Did they give a fair verdict? Not so fair. You hear, you must care. You literally took time to type. I'm exhausted. I'm not playing with y'all today. Not doing it. Not today. But like I said, I was hearing stuff and I was like, my people really need to know what's going on. We go fast over here. And we don't play when it comes to content, when it comes to information, when it comes to bringing y'all the tea. So look out for the YouTuber being called out. Look out for the family was celebrating. Did not realize that the other charges and what those charges hold. Are you guys surprised about what the jurors decided? Do you think the jurors are going to have interviews all together by themselves? That's things to ask yourself. Do you feel that they've done fair, not fair? Now that the judge has denied bail, do you think that the jurors are questioning themselves if they did things right? Many people had talked about it's going to be hard to prove RICO. Lawyers felt that they had covered it. But do you think they presented their case in the right way? Even normal day people are like, the Kid Cudi situation, y'all should have got y'all prints. Y'all shouldn't have lost the prints. They were talking about KK. She didn't show up. Where was she? Eh? Where was she? Allegedly, they were asking about Gina. Gina showed up yesterday doing an interview with TMZ. So many people question how it all went. Everyday people were like, we didn't like how this went. We didn't like how that went. So if everyday people were saying we don't see it because y'all did not do a good job trying to convict him over this trial, it seemed not organized. They were saying, real talk, more tea. They were saying the one of the attorneys on Diddy's side, he was bringing up case law fast. He was bringing up case law. If the judge asked for case law, he had no problem typing it in and telling the judge what, where, and how. Diddy had some decent lawyers. They weren't playing. Diddy's team had some decent lawyers. They were not playing. When the judge asked for something, whoever the kid is, they said he looks young, but he was smart and intelligent. Whoever that attorney was, or assistant was, or paralegal was, whoever he was, whenever he was asked to bring up case law, he wasn't playing. He wasn't playing. They said he kind of came in within the last 3 or 4 weeks, or in the last 2 weeks, and he brought it home. Whoever he is, I can't remember their name. Like I said, I was laying down. And, you know, whenever you hear about a young person doing good and, you know, whatever the judge is asking, he would bring it up. No stuttering. He was right on it. What else did I hear about court? People were outside because remember, when we got the verdict, people were outside waiting on the verdict in regards to what will it be, guilty, not guilty. So when the verdict came and then they talked about him possibly being released, people were waiting outside. People were waiting outside. But then they had said the verdict won't happen until 5. So his family, I got tea for y'all. His family got there right around 5:20, 5:30, 5:40, 5:45, around that time. Quincy outfits. Okay, Quincy, we see it. We see it. Quincy did not fail in regards to his outfits. Quincy did a great job. He was walking in sometimes first, sometimes last. Quincy. Does anybody know who Quincy's dating? I'm curious. He kind of keeps a low profile who he's dating. I don't flirt. I got a man, I got a boo, a bae. I don't do that. But Quincy did his doggone thing. The girls did too. Did you notice how the girls were always holding hands, walking in together, having similar hairstyles? The twins were always dressed alike, and then the other daughter in the middle was dressed, you know. But that's interesting that they're almost very similar in age, you know. So what does that say? Diddy was having a good time with the baby mamas. Okay. So the daughters. What other information? So of course the family left after the verdict, and then they came back a few hours later. Okay. But yeah, outside people were, you know, I think because the verdict, people were sure that he was going to go down for all the counts. And when it didn't happen, people were like, how? So people were saying people were falsifying stuff to get clicks and views. So it is what it is. Some people were cool with. And then towards the end, YouTubers were separating themselves, not getting along. Most of them get along though. Most of them are getting along. Like y'all saw, they're dancing. They're having a good time. They're like, we are over this. These bloggers, YouTubers, reporters have been out there reporting on this for 6 or 7 weeks. They've done an amazing job. Can't wait to see what happens regards to the jurors. Do you think the jurors will wait after the holiday? I want to see how they came to deliberate on what they deliberated on. Or let me ask y'all this. Do you feel that the jurors felt a way yesterday and then felt a different way today? Because remember, they weren't certain about count 1, but they had a conversation about count 2, 3, 4, and 5. Do you think that they flipped from yesterday to today? Question. And they left it into the jury's hands. The judge, allegedly, people were saying he tried to be fair. There was a lot of sidebars. There was a lot of objections. And don't think that Diddy's team is not going to request bail. Maybe again, maybe they won't. Maybe they'll be focusing on the appeal. Who knows? We're going to keep an eye on it, though. We're going to keep an eye on it. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. I kept clicking. I was like, nope, not feeling you. Clicking, not feeling you. Okay, let me just go live because my people they want the information. They want the tea. So I appreciate y'all being here. Yep, I appreciate y'all being here. Yes. Yes, bail was denied. Bail was denied. Are y'all surprised the bail was denied? Yep, it says that the bail was denied. So, do you think his attorneys will rewrite the bail request, try and present it tomorrow, or do you think they'll present it after the holiday, over the weekend? Do you think Diddy? Do you think that the attorneys are going to get even more rest now, or it's going to be another busy 2 weeks for them? We'll see. We shall see. We shall see. Okay, copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships, and research. Fair use is use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged, in our opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. Focus on healthy, safe relationships. Be around people that's loving, kind, and respectful. Okay, you guys. Well, I hope you guys have a great day. There's some things I need to take care of. It's been a very, very busy day. So I will see what happens tomorrow. I did do a few shorts for you guys. But yeah, a lot of us are going to be so happy to rest in. Not have to get up at 6 or 7, you know, having drinks and preparing to go live for an hour or two. So a lot of us are definitely going to get some good rest. Let me tell you, I'm going to catch up. Real talk. It was even a busy day today and yesterday. It's been really busy for the last 2 weeks, and I've been trying to sort stuff out. But the good thing is most of my stuff is done. Few things I got to take care of tomorrow, but I am going to relax, and have fun with fam. So I appreciate you guys. The bail was denied. Were you surprised? Thanks for being here, everyone. Goodbye. Goodbye.